What you see in New Hanover County over the last 20 years is a politics that is dominated by one interest group. And you see that in our roads, you see that in our schools, you see that in the placement of critical infrastructure, of subcritical infrastructure, you see it everywhere. And that is the North Carolina Realtors PAC. Mm-hmm. They have endorsed every single member of the county commission. They have endorsed every single member of the Wilmington City Council. They have endorsed 5 of the 7 members of the Board of Education. The National Association of Realtors, of which North Carolina Realtors PAC is a member, gives 81 times the money to candidates that individuals contribute to candidates. You see this all over New Hanover County. Realty dominates New Hanover County. Mm-hmm. The reason for the districted lines, the reason for the argument about neighborhood schools and resegregation and busing, go look around the state. Our segregation problem is unique to New Hanover County. Mm-hmm. It is not a statewide problem, it is a New Hanover County problem, and it stems from the dominance of this organization.
Yeah, I got anything that'll help the hood, bro. Yeah, or just try to lift the voice of the hood, honestly. Yeah. You know, yeah. Like talk about
a lot of harassment going
on,
and like profiling shit.
Yeah, the cops always out here, man. It's crazy.
You got it? Yeah, bro, you about to vote?
Nah. I'm really not. It's not really
I feel that. I mean, like, the primaries, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're important, but not as important as the fall, you know what I'm saying? But best believe I'm gonna vote for the school board, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe I should vote for the school board. Somebody said something the other day, I don't know if this is true, but they said that they can't put you up for jury duty if you like don't vote. I was like, word? It's like, yeah. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like, right? It's like something. I learned that a long time ago, so I've been stopped voting. I'm not gonna say who, but they told me. I'm like, damn, that makes so much sense.
Honestly, I think that's like definitely bullshit. Cause I got called for jury duty before I even voted. You know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, bro, but the, you know what I'm saying? I don't even have any kids, but I'm going to vote in this school board election. You know what I'm saying?
Who you voting for?
I don't know yet, you know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you who I'm not going to vote for.
Who you not going to vote for?
Not going to vote for your boy Higgins. Not going to vote for Don Hayes. Not going to vote for that other lady that's been on there for a long time, you know.
So you want fresh blood?
Yeah, bro. I mean, there's this group, I think they call them the Fab Four.
Yeah.
They've been on the school board since like the late 80s and early 90s. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But the crazy thing is, like, you know, I got a dog, but she doesn't go to school, you know what I'm saying? Not yet anyway, but, you know what I'm saying? I got some nieces and nephews in New Hanover County schools, but, like, there's a crazy, like, injustice going on here, you know what I'm saying? And it's, like, something that we can address easily, like, all doing something totally free, just voting and not voting for the people that been there for a while.
Right? I mean, no changes came yet, you know?
Bro, like, it's bad out here, dog. Like, not only are our schools here in the county ranked really low, like, as far as the states go, but, like, there's, like, huge disparities, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're poor and, like, black and born into a certain neighborhood here, you're probably gonna get an inferior education to someone working in the, like, who was born into the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for my education, you know what I'm saying? Like, and not even talking about college or whatever, but just like from an early age being like taught the essentials, like how to read, and like the fact that I could do whatever I want in this world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, it's just really fucked up, like that you could be born into a certain neighborhood and not have any of those opportunities, because like I think knowledge is freedom, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like I feel like the least like we could do is like, you know, vote. Our schools shouldn't be showing signs of resegregation. Like that's why we have Brown versus Board of Education. Like
Right.
it's 2018, you know what I'm saying? Like black kids and Latinos and white kids should all go to school together, and there should be a healthy mix of different economic levels, you know what I'm saying? Like, so kids just end up being woke from the start, you know what I'm saying? And it's not like rich kids go over here, you know, poor kids go over here.
Yeah, like, man, I saw that video, man. I'm sorry, I was gonna tell you next time I see you, good job. And you just walk in here the next day.
He said that Joseph's smart, you know. For real.
I know he said he told me that too.
We got it. We got the man Johnny C.
What? Johnny C? Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I like that. Thank you. Hell yeah.
Vegan pancakes up in here.
Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Not vegan, I mean gluten free. We got the banana with the egg and some cinnamon.
Hell yeah, those are boyish good looks. Look at camera smile.
That's good for it, right? That looks delicious.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Hey, baby.
Yeah, but like on this episode, we ended up chopping it up with Nelson Beaulieu.
All right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. He's not from the port city. He's been here for a while. He got a couple kids in school here. He's a vet, former military police.
Nice.
You know, he served some time. I think it might have been Iraq, might have been Afghanistan. I forget. You know what I'm saying, but he works here. He's an adjunct professor at UNCW in Cape Fear. Smart dude, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he started off running for county commissioner, but you know, some more people entered that race, so he switched his game over to school board, which kind of fit better for him, because you know, he was he like is in education already, being a professor and stuff. My bad, I haven't had coffee yet, you know.
You good, man?
What's up, Port City? This is Zach Postman checking in from Dub City Heartbeat. You are watching A Real Dialogue, and we're here today with Nelson Beaulieu. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So Nelson, I know that you're running for the Board of Education now, but I know you were running for some other things before. So can you just break that down? What are you running for now? And
Yeah, so I was going to run for county commissioner again. As you know, in 2016 I ran for county commissioner. That was going to be the comeback year.
Yeah.
And there just, you know, there was a lot of competition there. James Middleton announced he was going to run. I was still going to go forward, but then when Julia Bozeman got into the race, I took a look at everything, and I thought that for the good of the party, for the good of the county, I would step aside. Julia was about 300 votes away. I feel like in a Democratic year, and I think 2018 is going to be that.
Yeah.
Best for everybody for me to step to this race. I don't consider it stepping down. I just stepping up. School board is really important, and I have a really good background for school board because I teach at college. I have 2 daughters in public school. My wife is a member of the PTA, and she also was the volunteer of the year at Blair. So you know, schools are really a better fit for me anyway.
So you tell me about your background, kind of before that. Are you from Wilmington?
No, originally, Amanda and I, my wife, were from Connecticut.
Okay.
We met at the bus stop in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined the Army out of high school, did some different things. I was a military police officer. And we were getting out, and my wife and I wanted to go back to New England, but we took a right up the coast.
Yeah.
And like so many Wilmingtonians, we just ran into it. And we were here for 40 hours. An hour or two at Wrightsville Beach, hour or two downtown, and
Yeah.
about 36 looking for property. I just fell in love with it.
I think Wilmington is superior to Connecticut. So you got 2 kids?
2 girls, my oldest daughter turned 10, her name is Meadow, and my youngest daughter's named Autumn. She'll be 9 in a couple weeks, 3 weeks.
Okay, and they go to public school, New
They go
Hanover
to public
County
school.
schools?
They are proud Blair Bulldogs.
So what would you say, in your opinion, what are the most pressing issues in New Hanover County schools right now?
Well, obviously the funding issue is a problem for years. We tried to get $2,700 per pupil spending. They start us at $2,640 with the commissioners, and they went to $2,660. Finally,
Yeah.
after 3 years, they're up at $2,700. So we have the funding issue. You have an overcrowding issue that I don't think is being properly addressed.
Yeah.
They're trying to create these 9th grade centers rather than invest in a new public high school, which I think is inevitable. And
For sure.
I think it's time. When every single school is over capacity, there's only so many games that you can play. And my question is, at what cost and how long?
Yeah.
Because at some point we have to build a high school, and I'm wondering where that land is going to come from 10 or 15 years from now. So there's that issue. Obviously, school safety is on everybody's mind. But the big battle over the next 4 or 5 years in New Hanover County is going to be about these districted lines and where our students are going to start to go to school.
I definitely want to get into that testy issue with the district lines. Do you think that North Carolina is like 46 or something like that on per pupil spending? And I know that the county can add some money in.
Yes, we can.
Where would you say, like, in what ways does the school board have kind of oversee that funding, and where in that situation are they coming up short? Like, how does that play?
So, the county commissioners are our funding partner.
Yeah.
Real quick, over the last 10, 15 years, what you've seen at the state level is an effort to roll back taxes. One of the big ticket items for the state budget is education.
Yeah.
So they can cut all they want, but that's just falling back onto local governments. We have to either step up as a local government. I think the numbers are astounding. It's going from something like 80% being on the state to now it's down to like near 60%.
Damn.
That's a huge drop off in funding. The local governments have to do that. The Board of Education in New Hanover County, we have some funds, we have some surplus, but really we rely on the county government and the city government to be our funding partners. I think what you don't see from the board, and this is something I really want to bring to it, is a more vocal, more public presence in terms of securing the funding that I think the county needs to provide to our students. And that really starts with communicating with our parents. Everybody always talks about how important this is, and very little gets done. That we can fund things like new parks, and believe me, I'm all for those things as well, but that we fund them and then don't fund our students at precisely what our superintendent is asking for, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, that seems
and
like
I think
that
people need to know about it.
Yeah. I feel like that's the most important thing in the city.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. And if you look at what businesses are interested in, we have the community college, we have UNCW. We really need to make sure that we don't have a public school system that's good enough. We need to make sure that we have the best public school system in the state. And if we're not doing enough to achieve that, we need to look at ourselves and evaluate, are we doing enough? We need to ask those questions.
Yeah, you definitely, it seems like a lot of our schools are fairly low as far as in the state goes. But there's huge disparities among schools in the county. I mean, if you look and look at Hoggard's state ranking versus Hanover's state ranking.
Yep.
What do you think about that, and what's the cause of that?
Well, you know, nationally, we only have one school in this county that is ranked, and that's Isaac Bear. You know, and there are a lot of causes to it. Part of it's funding, part of it's the way our schools are districted. I think a really big part of it is you have a board right now where 3 of the candidates that I'll be running against in November have 76 years of collective experience. It's 20. These are the people who put Oregon Trail and Number Munchers into the classroom. These are the people who secured the funding for floppy disks. And I feel like in the 21st century, things are just moving so fast.
Yeah.
You know, I would not commit to staying on a board where I didn't have children in public schools, where I wasn't part of what was going on in New Hanover County public schools, because it changes all the time, and I think you need to bring in some fresh perspectives.
Definitely. It seems to me the school board meetings I've been to, if you look well, one, you have to wait a long time before you can comment publicly, which is definitely tough if you have kids at home and you're trying to rush there after work. Especially a lot of people in Wilmington parents have multiple jobs, so you know, how practical is it for them to get there and for them to have to wait that long? But it seems like some of the school board members that you mentioned are just kind of laissez-faire, just, you know, silently kind of sitting there. It's not any, it's almost as if these children's futures are, you know, something that they can just scoff at, you know. And I mean, we have a school to prison pipeline that is alive and well here in New Hanover County. If we don't reach and inspire these kids and, you know, give them the resources they need, it seems like.
Well, you know, I'll address both parts first.
Yeah.
And I'll remind me to come back. Remind me to come back to that school to prison pipeline, because that is a really important thing that I'd like to address. But in terms of the meetings, wow. It takes 40 minutes to start a meeting. And look, I mean, you have a Pledge of Allegiance, you have a national anthem, you have a roll call for the students who sang the Pledge of Allegiance, who did the national anthem. You have ROTC, do the colors. Look, I mean, this is part of what I'm talking about. You know, you're a millennial.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
Right at the very beginning of that generation. I don't know a millennial, and I doubt you do either, who doesn't have 2 or 3 jobs. We have to be ninjas.
Yeah.
I drive Uber. I teach at a college. I umpire baseball games. Obviously, I teach at the college. I adjunct at another college. I mean, it's constant. And I have 2 daughters. At 5:30 at night, I don't have time to sit there until 9 o'clock to get to speak. One thing that I will promise you, if I get on that board, is we're going to do those meetings differently. Not only are we going to do them differently, we're not going to make the entire county come down here to us. There's no reason why that school board, I love their new facility, it's great to have your name placard all over the place. We can do these meetings at different schools throughout the calendar year.
Yeah.
And you know what that would mean to some of the people up in the northern part of the county or down in the southern part of the county, or actually 7 people can go much easier to these other areas, have their meetings there, give people a chance to really get involved in their schools.
Yeah, because then it's just a matter of staying a little bit longer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then the other issue you mentioned was, you know, the school to prison pipeline, and it's almost as if they just don't see all the problems that our 21st century students are dealing with. We don't need more police presence in our schools. Kids used to get in fights all the time when I was in school. And they got into fights, and there was an accounting, and everybody was held to a standard, and then you moved on. You know, the more we focus on law enforcement in the classroom, the more we feed these children into law enforcement. Kids make mistakes, and you can deal with them on a lower level. And I'd really like to bring a program of restorative justice into New Hanover County schools. I think it would be critical to that school to prison pipeline problem. And I'm not the only one. You know, the judges in our county Judge Corbin.
Mhm.
He is absolutely a proponent of
Mhm.
restorative justice. It's
Yeah.
really something that we don't need to look at. We need to be aggressive in implementing.
Speaking about, restorative justice and stuff like that, obviously teacher pay is incredibly low, but I think another big issue is equipping these teachers to, be in that classroom and connect with these students because,
Absolutely.
I mean, I overheard when I was at UNC, I think I was on the UNCW campus a little while ago. I wish I talked to this woman, but I just heard it in passing. And she said something to the tune of she was about to start teaching at one of the more inner city public schools here in Wilmington. And she said something like, I'm a little bit nervous about teaching there because they're not my kind of people. She said something like that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times you have white teachers teaching students in the black community who maybe have never been in the black community here. How do we give them the training to really understand the dynamics? Because I think that 1898 should be taught in schools here in Wilmington. I think we should
100%.
teach kids about the Wilmington 10
Absolutely.
and some of that history, and when it's and Black History Month should be a year around thing here in Wilmington with some of the really rich Black history that we have here. I talked to numerous kids who grew up in New Hanover County schools, and they never heard anything about 1898. The Wilmington 10, Abraham Galloway. They didn't know about any of that. So what do you think about navigating that and bringing some of that culture into the schools?
Most students, when they are asked about their favorite subject, history finishes last. And that kills me because I'm a history professor. First, I was a history professor. Then I became a political science professor. But history is just such a love for me.
Yeah.
And I never understood why people didn't enjoy it. And I think really what it comes down to is, a lot of students just don't see themselves in it. History,
Definitely,
history is often the story of rich white men. Definitely you can make some curriculum adjustments, but the issue you were talking about before with the teacher.
Definitely.
I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I had cultural awareness training when I was 19. It was a long-term course. It was called A Career in the United States Army. And let me tell you, it opened up my eyes. So I grew up in a town with 50 kids in my graduating class. And by the way, I was at the bottom of that class, toward the bottom, not at the bottom.
That's a really small
It was a
class.
small
I
class.
thought my 200 was a lot.
I was not much of a student in high school. And, part of the reason I joined the Army.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to commit seriously to academics. But it was all white kids. I think it was 2 black kids in my class. And I'll never forget, I was in Afghanistan, and I was talking late one night to somebody who just became a hero to me. My platoon sergeant, and he's just, he's just Orman Wilson, just a brother.
Yeah.
And we were talking about our experience as a police, and Nelson, you're the first police officer that I like. And I said, oh, thanks. I said, I never had problems with police. In a small town, the police know everybody. And they sort of look the other way at things.
For sure.
Okay. So I said, that was my. And he goes, oh my God, I hate cops, and here's my experience. I said, man, I can't believe it. I've never seen that. He goes, well, of course you've never seen that. He said, you're not black. And I said, whoa. I said, yeah. He goes, well, what, do you think people make this stuff up? He said, I've seen police officers put drugs onto people. I've seen this happen. And, I said, that was just one of those moments that changed me. Because I realized there were so many things that I didn't know. I don't know what it is to be a black person. And I feel like our teachers need some more cultural awareness training. You can't teach a person if you don't understand a little bit about that person, their culture, their experience, their background. And I think the county as a whole needs to make more of an effort to recruit and retain black teachers.
For sure.
We don't have enough. I think it makes a difference to have a diverse, economically diverse, racially diverse, socially diverse faculty at each school. I think we really have to make that a focus.
Yeah, I think it, kind of goes back into what we were just talking about with the history. A student can't really connect with the history if they can't see themselves in that history.
Yes, sir.
And how can you expect a student to connect with a, faculty or teachers when they can't see that there's any faculty at all that look like them,
Makes a difference.
And even if it's not directly their teacher that's of, the same race as them, like just having, some in the faculty, representative portion, I think.
Yeah, exactly. In Blair, some of the black students, when there's a discipline problem, they would go to the janitor. He was a big black guy, and he would talk to the students, and they would say, "Hey, we're going to bring this janitor in, and they're going to talk to you." And, okay, that's something.
Yeah.
When the janitor tried to instill a discipline that he thought was necessary, a parent objected, and I believe he was suspended for a while. I'm not sure if he was reinstated or not. I think he was. But that was just something that they were using often. That's not enough.
No.
That's not enough. We need to teach our teachers. We need to train our teachers in terms of this is how you address this issue. This is some of the things that you might see with this issue, and we just need faculty to have some diversity. If you don't see yourself in the administration, these kids are very perceptive. They might not be able to articulate what they see, but they understand it. They perceive it and they understand it.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're, a lot more with it than we give them credit for.
Absolutely. Believe me, I wish my daughters weren't.
Yeah. What's that school called? I'm forgetting the name. The one that.
The diversionary school.
Yeah.
That's J.C. Rowe.
J.C. Rowe.
Yeah.
Let's talk about J.C. Rowe.
Let's talk about it.
What do you think about J.C. Rowe and the way things are being carried out there?
I don't like the idea of J.C. Rowe on its face. I don't like the idea of saying these students have so many problems they can't be with the other students. And this is where we run into the problem when we talk about education. We never talk about what we're talking about, and that is our kids. We are so protective of our children, and believe me, I'm no different. Nobody's anything. We're protective. When we talk about lines or busing, we're talking about me being afraid that my daughter's going to go to a school that I don't think is a good school. And that's why you don't see those changes taking place in Hanover County. The argument for J.C. Rowe is that there's a group of students that are so disruptive that they are causing problems for the rest of the students. How is that fair? And this is where I tell people, look, you don't start fixing the problem in 9th grade or 8th grade or 7th grade. You start in kindergarten. That's where the restorative justice begins. We need to have a rethinking of how we deal with school discipline. It's with all crime. How do we deal with crime? How do we deal with drug addiction? We need to rethink, because what I see is not working. It's just not working.
That's
one of the issues that I know is on a lot of teachers' minds, students' minds, everybody's mind, is school safety after the horrific events at Marjorie Stoneman in Florida. I said the day after that, I had a precinct meeting. I said, you don't stop a mass shooter when he starts shooting. You don't stop a mass shooter when he's a senior in high school. You stop him in kindergarten. You stop him in 1st grade. Mass shooters have a profile. They've been humiliated. They feel rejected. You don't stop that. 10 days before they, you don't stop that 10 days before one of the most horrific crimes ever perpetrated. You gotta stop that earlier. And I feel like, again, this is where the rethinking comes in. Well, let's put guns in the schools with teachers. Really? Shouldn't policy be evidence-based? Right? Do we have any evidence that any policy like that is going to work? No. Do we have evidence that that simply will not work? Absolutely. As a former police officer, I can tell you that a gunfight takes place typically between 7 and 10 feet. And I don't know if you've ever fired a weapon.
No.
Between 7 and 10 feet in range conditions or practicing, I can't miss. Nobody can miss.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old could not miss.
Yeah.
It's this. Under the stress of a gunfight, officers hit their target maybe 1 out of 5 times. Tops. Criminals, much less. So you're telling me that these teachers are going to go, A, it's not going to work. B, we also know that 68% of murders in this country are second-degree murders, which means people snap, students snap, teacher snaps. There's a gun right there. Our firearm problem in the United States is a problem because there are too many available weapons. That's why we don't have more assault, we don't have more battery, we don't have more of other types of violent crimes. The reason we have more gun homicides is because we have more guns than any other country in the world. So the idea, well, let's put more in there, is a terrible idea. We have to rethink these things.
And the already underpaid teacher is being asked to be, you know, armed bodyguard now too.
You know, again, it's a that represents a fundamental misunderstanding of education and what teachers do. They're asking the teachers' aides now to jump on and drive the buses because they're lacking. Go drive a bus. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's insane. I think that the you know we talked about, you know, what happened in Florida there. I think that our overcrowding of schools isn't really helping that situation either. I went to public, Quaker, and Catholic school in my life, and I think, you know, with the learning challenges that I had, I really benefited from having a small class size. And I think that I've read that students, in order to really, you know, learn how to read and, you know, be a productive student, they need to have that one-on-one interaction time with their teacher. I feel like this, you know, shifting around of district lines, not really addressing the issue of needing another high school, and, you know, getting down to smaller class sizes really addresses that problem. And I think it sets us up to have more kids that could potentially become a problem, you know? If, like, I feel like when you get too many kids in a classroom, the teacher can only pay attention to so many. It's easier for some to fall through the cracks and just end up in bad situations, you know, get mixed up in the wrong thing. Which,
I think there's a lot of truth to that. This county has a problem. And it's a problem that's not new, it's been developing. We're the second county, we're the second smallest county in the state. Right? We're also the second most densely populated. And there's a chance within the next 15 years we could take over as the most densely populated county in North Carolina. We are limited in terms of how many schools we can have. We're going to continue to have large schools, larger than we would find ideal. But what you see in Hanover County over the last 20 years is a politics that is dominated by one interest group. And you see that in our roads, you see that in our schools, you see that in the placement of critical infrastructure, of subcritical infrastructure, you see it everywhere. And that is the North Carolina Realtors PAC. They have endorsed every single member of the county commission. They have endorsed every single member of the Wilmington City Council. They have endorsed 5 of the 7 members of the Board of Education. The National Association of Realtors, of which North Carolina Realtors PAC is a member, gives 81 times the money to candidates that individuals contribute to candidates. You see this all over New Hanover County. Realty dominates New Hanover County. The reason for the districted lines, the reason for the argument about neighborhood schools and resegregation and busing, go look around the state. Our segregation problem is unique to New Hanover County. It is not a statewide problem, it is a New Hanover County problem, and it stems from the dominance of this organization.
What do you think about, I know that they put all redistricting on hold, not surprisingly, with the election coming up. What do you think about some of those initial plans that they submitted? Because to me, it really didn't seem like it changed much at all.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. So I'm less worried about the high schools.
Yeah.
I thought the second plan, 1B, I believe it was, that it was revised. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Compared to what was out there before. I still don't think it's enough. I think we need a new high school. I will push for a new high school. Our bonds are coming up. Our bond cycle's coming up. It's time.
Yeah.
I think everybody needs to be aware. At least I believe it is time for that new high school. High schools are for the kids. My daughters, I know I did. I'm sure you did. I love my school.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Portland High School. That was my school.
Yeah, for sure.
You have class reunions 25 years later.
Yeah.
The elementary schools, I think, are more formative. And therefore more important when it comes to the question of where our students are going to go to school. We've been presented by this realtors organization and by those who support it. We've been presented with the false choice of busing or neighborhood schools. In a county our size, one advantage we do have, we don't have to choose. There is sociologists have found like a diversity threshold where there's a lot of benefit to having a 20% diverse student body, 20% diversity within any organization. After that, the benefits fall off. We do not have to do very much in terms of drawing school. We don't have to have people on buses for 45 minutes to get to that 20%. 20% is doable. But what we have now, what we have to start with is what we have today is not acceptable. It is not acceptable. Doesn't mean busing, it doesn't mean we get rid of neighborhood schools. Look, my daughters go to Blair. Blair is family for my family. My wife volunteers there. Our friends are there. There's no neighborhood that isn't capable of supporting a school. But we can do better. And we seem to say, well, it's all or nothing. We have to have this or that. And that's not the way it is. We can get there. We can do it smart. And we can phase it in. We can start with the incoming kindergarten class so not a single student in New Hanover County is affected today.